You die and resurrect. You go through what initiation really is going through what Jesus went through. And that's why the Gospel of John, those 7 miracles are part of initiation. That you have to sacrifice. You have to sacrifice the horizontal and the will to power and wait while you're doing these practices and let it go and let it go. And that leads to the expansion on the vertical by letting it go. And I can tell you, because I've been through the process of that, you have to say, whatever my chosen goal was on the material plane that I just arbitrarily assigned to myself, or I was just given by something and I thought it was me, I'm saying now, I don't know what that is anymore. I don't care. I'm going to turn myself into an empty vessel, which is to be silent, to receive revelation, which isn't just a Gnostic thinking, it's also a mission and revelatory action, which is to act in service of the divine and to just listen to its instinct. And that happened to prophets, that happened to various biblical figures. That's what you are to do. And that is extremely hard to say, all your goal setting, to say, even for a small period of time, to say, I don't know what the Lord's going to tell me what to do here. I don't know what the divine's going to get me to do here. I have to say no to that, though, and say, I'm going to let that go. All those massive goals, whatever you lusted after, you let it all go and dissolve it. That being said, putting yourself in the Lord's hands and the outside in the divine's hands through initiation. He knows what's best for you. He is futural, your guardian angel, your transcendent self. He's the friend outside of time that's always been helping you. You thought, well, who was that? Where did that idea come from? Every now and then you got something from him. You're trying to awaken that communication to get more, to unite with him. That is initiation. It's a difficult thing to do, but so rewarding. And also, you already had talents that did lead you to the things you did choose for yourself, so you don't have to worry. Your talents will be put to good use, and you'll be doing something similar to what you were doing. What is being purified in initiation? The will, the thought, and the feeling. Fire, earth, air, and water. And really, it's the union of these things. And while they're being unified, they're being purified. Initiation is also the alchemical process and the 3 magisterium, or the 3 arcana, which is the Gnostic union, the magical union, the magical arcana, the magical union, and the moral union. But another way of thinking about what is fire, earth, air, and water is the animals, the biblical animals. The Gospel of John, the Gospel of Luke, the Gospel of Matthew, and the Gospel of Mark. All of these things, these four animals, the angel, the eagle, the ox, the bull, and the lion, they all have a low form and they all have a high form. Its fallen aspect of the eagle is rapaciousness. It's a descent, but it is the will to freedom. It's a impulsion towards freedom, but it's turned around to the depths in its low fallen state. But really, the arcana, the bull, is concentration. It's perseverance. It's connected with survival. It's like virtuality. It's connected with the coin in terms of the symbolic coin. The number 4, in terms of YHVH, it's the final H. It's the synthesis of them together. So really what the bull is concentrated force. It's not movement as will is. Will is action, which is the lion. But the bull is concentrated force in potentiality, of the virtuality that you are at the end of the fall, as facticity that we are, modernism. The final point is sort of the bull, and that potentiality that you have, and that force that you have in potential. Sort of like passiveness, you might want to think about like that passive enfolded energy, enfoldedness, or in latency. The animalistic version of that animal is rage. It's to be concentrated on one thing rather than the all. The low form is the particular. It's the obsession with the particular. The low form of the angel is the objectiveness. It's a non-caring scientific objectiveness, if you want to think about it that way. In other words, the devil, really. It's a cynical checking out of being. It's like the English referee. He doesn't care either way. Now, the angelic version is the love for all. It's the invested in all, is the it's return of meaning, in the sense of it's a checking in. It's a love of everything, rather than being, so it's an objectivity towards everything because of a love for everything, or being towards everything, not a checking out nihilistic objectivity, which is science. So it's the opposite of that. One's godly, one's low, and the low animalistic, calculative, and human. The eagle, on one side, is the rapaciousness of the Roman Empire. It's concerned with low things rather than being a receptacle, the cup, which is its symbol of the of Yod, of the high, to be the receptacle of the divine. And that's John. The Gospel of John is connected with the eagle. Now, its natural tendency is towards ascent, is towards freedom, which is the H of the YH. But the union that happens in this initiation is there's two vertical arcana, vertical opposites, and there's two horizontal opposites. The vertical opposites are bull, eagle, and to merge them together is to be silent, is to practice silence, and therefore have will look upwards. And so a restriction on the horizontal plane, on your movement in the temporal, leads to an expansion, like growth, on the vertical plane. That's what's happening in initiation. It's a series of expansions, contractions to be silent on the horizontal plane, and then expansion upward on the vertical plane. And then you gain new faculties in various things, right? How the human is in the spirit is how the tree is in temporality. What's going on with a tree is metamorphosis. The metamorphosis of the tree, and studying how it works, shows you that contraction and expansion. Or Goethe's brother said that. If you want to understand it, growth in the spirit, understand how the tree works. But that is one arcana, which you could probably call the Gnostic arcana, because it's about the particular unifying with the universal. Because the bull is the particular, and the eagle is the universal. The particular of the factical human being unifying with the infinite in a way, or wisdom. So through their unity, they both become winged, or the bull becomes winged. Then the other arcana, through their unity, you get the good form of angel, who's no longer the devil, and the good form of the lion. The lion's courage, right, is will, formation. The lion has a courage, a lust for adventurous conflict in the horizontal. Through its restriction and look upward, it gains true courage, what we call moral courage. And that courage is courage to be obedient to the will from above. And so that's the merging with the angel, and then can do the objective will. It's not about your ego anymore. It's a will to service, not a will to power, and it flows through you into the temporality. That's how the lion becomes the winged lion. As a basic understanding of how these low animal instincts become higher instincts. You become a receptacle for divine revelation, a receptacle for divine will and divine instinct. So when you unify all these four, they all become their divine aspect and quintessence after that, which means that, again, all these forms that were focused, like the bull was focused on one particular thing, obsessed and blinkered, like some people are with obsession of a goal. When you're in a rage, it becomes aware of the general and lifts itself up to the universal. The will, which is after something, a lust in the temporal, looks upward and then becomes a service, right? And so that's how it works in essence, is that over time, with concentration without effort, to will, to dare, to ascend, to be silent, which lends this massive concentration of the bull, to ascent rather than descent, because its natural inclination is down, just like the will. And the lion's courage goes upward too. And he gains the courage to have divine instinct. What you want is divine instinct, and divine instinct is also a courage to be obedient to something when you don't know the future, to be led by the angel that you've developed a conscience relationship with, that shows you something. It doesn't necessarily tell you, but gives you the divine instinct or an impulsion towards something. But to have faith, because Christ is now present and YHVH is present with you, to have faith to be obedient to it, knowing it's leading you in the right direction, rather than be told the whole story in intellect first. It's to go after intuition that you've been developing, this communication with the divine. You move from instincts that are faced in all these different directions that are like the wheel just turning around and round. They're pulled and provoked to they work in harmony together. And really it becomes from a wheel into a spiral. Like, think about a spiral. It's like the golden mean. And that's why it's related. That's what Plato's really talking about. It's the golden mean. And that golden mean is futural and outside. It's directed by the guardian angel. It's directed by the Lord. And you follow that instinct because it knows the future. It's providence, providential is what you're aligning with when you're going through this process and you're healing your instincts and getting them to eventually collaborate and collaborating with the outside, with the Lord. There are aspects of impulsions which would just be called creative elan. We used to think, or Bergson thought it was creative elan, was it, just the will. But no, there's three others that are motivating factors. And they're also the imprint, the image, or the likeness of YHVH. Those Y stands for the angel. H, the receptive principle, stands for the eagle, which is air. Again, then they match up with the four elements. And the V stands for will. And the second H stands for earth, which is, or the bull. So... and that all makes sense because the final H is the synthesis, just like the earth is the synthesis. And they all match up too. They match up with the suits of the tarot, with the sword standing for the lion, the will. The bull stands for the coin, which has the pentagram on it, which is also facticity, really, when you think about it. It's the final, it's what you have, like modernism. You're looking at the world as it is. And the scepter is Yod of YHVH, which is also fire, which is also the angel. But let's think about this philosophically too. Man, in his animal aspect, in his low form, before he's contacted outside, before it's begun, before the initiates, before the pagan initiates, before the prophetic religion, and his connection with the divine, in his low state, he searches the world over, looking to fill this emptiness that he is. Will to power is implied in will itself. There is always a willed in the willing. What will to power or will is moreness or mooring. You're this lust for more. Why? Because you are finitude. Will implies finitude because it's intemporality. So does the bull applies finitude as well, because it's the particular. It's a world built of particulars, intemporality. It's left brain in that way. So you are something that's empty at your ground because you're a finite being. So this finite being has a fundamental being towards death, a terror at its ground. And Parmenides talked about this, I think. And so man becomes, to match this terror, he creates techne. He searches the world over to create something to fight this primordial terror with his will for moreness, looking the world over, inventing artifice, which eventually turns into technical. And really, then until that turns on him, which has now happened in the modern age, really, right? This techne. So man searches the world over, doing that with his lust for more, to fill, and nothing he searches for fills this void at the ground of his being, because he is finite, not infinite. To be finite, something you're disappearing, you're dying as you're living. And he searches for that in world. But through initiation, You move that moreness and you aim it outside, vertically instead of horizontally. You aim it within. And then what happens is the finite finds the infinite. The finite meets fullness, and then fullness becomes him, which is what I'm talking about with YHVH. So instead of a emptiness that is lusting for more and is always empty, and you know this for when you get your goals, you always want something more. Nothing ever satisfies you. You've always got this insufficiency. He is insufficient at his ground without God. And when he gets this fullness through initiation, fullness is with him, which is the being that is infinite, that communicates with him and helps him and that's with him, and then grants him love and grants him peace, grants him peace, so the synthesis of peace through this process. He has fullness. He doesn't need that world anymore. He is then, though, there to be of service to that world. And so that fullness he becomes a radiance. He irradiates like a radiated object of nuclear energy. He then begins to irradiate that fullness outward to other people and pours the water into other people rather than try lusting to take. It's to grasp and take, rather that he becomes this gift giving. Oh, you could call it a will to service. And so that's what happens. But it's just in his nature then. It'll just flow out of him, and people will notice that in a saint, for instance. So that's what's going on metaphysically, is that you become a fullness. Fullness manifests with you. The infinite is with you. The eternal is with you. Yet you still interact with temporality. And your job is to pour that into temporality, to collaborate and save, to take on the Lord's name and mission as well, in whatever your vocation is, which might be a particular thing on earth. So from moreness and a lusting from moreness because you're empty at your ground, to no longer being empty because the eternal meets with you and fills that void and heals you, because you die and resurrect. You go through what initiation really is going through what Jesus went through. And that's why the Gospel of John, those 7 miracles, are part of initiation. That you have to sacrifice. You have to sacrifice the horizontal and the will to power and wait while you're doing these practices and let it go and let it go. And that leads to the expansion on the vertical by letting it go. And I can tell you, because I've been through the process of that, you have to say, whatever my chosen goal was on the material plane that I just arbitrarily assigned to myself, or I was just given by something and I thought it was me, I'm saying now, I don't know what that is anymore. I don't care. I'm going to turn myself into an empty vessel, which is to be silent, to receive revelation, which isn't just a Gnostic thinking, it's also a mission and revelatory action, which is to act in service of the divine and to just listen to its instinct. And that happened to prophets, that happened to various biblical figures. That's what you are to do. And that is extremely hard to say, all your goal setting, to say, even for a small period of time, to say, I don't know what the Lord's going to tell me what to do here. I don't know what the divine's going to get me to do here. I have to say no to that, though, and say, I'm going to let that go. All those massive goals, whatever you lusted after, you let it all go and dissolve it. That being said, putting yourself in the Lord's hands and the outside in the divine's hands through initiation. He knows what's best for you. He is futural, your guardian angel, your transcendent self. He's the friend outside of time that's always been helping you. You thought, well, who was that? Where did that idea come from? Every now and then you got something from him. You're trying to awaken that communication to get more, to unite with him. That is initiation. And to say that is, again, like I said, it's a difficult thing to do, but so rewarding. And also, you already had talents that did lead you to the things you did choose for yourself, so you don't have to worry. Your talents will be put to good use, and you'll be doing something similar to what you were doing. Say, I already set up this channel and everything, right, before I went through the start of this initiation process. I've been doing this film career, whatever it was, for all this time. I know how that feels. I had to put all that down and say, I could be anything, but it will probably be. But that's how hard it is. You say, you're having to let go of that. And then what will be dissolved is all that worldly, again, it's like I said, the transvaluation of all value is dissolved. as he, the Christ child's born in you. And I can say too, I was open to it being other things. I was open to it being a non-Christian thing if it just happened to be, but it just reveals itself more and more to be Christian until it becomes absolutely certain it's Christ you're dealing with, who's always been the Logos, even when he was talking to whoever through different religions. It's always been Christ. So yeah, that's what all these pagan people will find that want to escape Christ. It's just, you're just going to come back and discover it's him at the ground of being anyway. Or you'll never make it. You'll never be able to complete the process because you can't let go. I wasn't philo-Semitic either, and I'm not. So, but it doesn't matter. You can look for the cosmic Christ. It doesn't matter. What the Lord wants, though, now is for us the spirit to unite with the intellect, which is what goes on through initiation. He wants us to experience him directly, which as AI is going to expand, this initiation is necessary. And that's why we're going to have initiation organizations, initiation that brings this stuff back to life, not just through church, but this vocation, or people that have this vocation, are going to have to gather together to unite the spirit and the intellect, and to escape the intellect and escape the satanic modernism, which you can escape, who others of the past have done before. So that's it. I think I'm done.